Alright, what we're looking at now is the entire length of the spinal cord here. So this is the spinal cord model seen from an anterior point of view. What we can also see then are ribs. So these are ribs that we can see here with muscles in between them. And we can see the hip bones down here. So what we're looking at is the posterior wall of the thorax and abdomen, but seen from the front, seen from an anterior point of view. So the bodies of the vertebrae have been removed from here so that we can see the spinal cord. Now we can see part of the brain up this end, and then this would be the brain stem here, and then we're looking at spinal cord running down the middle here. So what we've got is the cervical region here. So this is the neck and the cervical region of the spinal cord, and then we have thoracic region here, and then lumbar vertebrae here, and then sacrum down here. Now remember though, the spinal cord stops growing before the vertebral column. So the spinal cord is only this long, but of course the vertebral column is much longer and ends way off the screen down here at the coccyx. So the spinal cord's shorter. So let's zoom in so that we can see some of the structures that we're interested in, because they're a bit hard to spot from this long point of view. So we're zoomed right in now, but we'll just move the model so that now we're looking at the cervical region. So this is brainstem here, and then we've got the cervical spinal cord here. Now just note that it's pretty thin up here, but when we get into the lower cervical and even just the upper thoracic region here, the spinal cord is a bit broader, a bit wider. So that region there is the cervical enlargement. So where it's a bit wider, cervical enlargement. And that's because there's all these nerves here that are going to and from the upper limb that you don't have a little bit higher up, and you also don't have a little bit lower down. So the cervical enlargement is that extra nervous or neural tissue that you have for the outflow and inflow of nerves to and from the upper limb. Now in the thoracic region of the spinal cord, again, it's pretty narrow. But then we get down to the lower thoracic, and we know we're in the lower thoracic region of the vertebral column because we can still see ribs here. So we know that there would be thoracic, these are parts of thoracic vertebrae, we can see just here and here, but we're in the lower thoracic region. Now in the lower thoracic region, there's another enlargement, but it's not called the thoracic enlargement, it's called the lumbar enlargement, because the spinal nerves that are going in and out of this part of the spinal cord actually travel all the way down and exit the vertebral column in the lumbar region. So this is called the lumbar enlargement, but don't forget it's actually sitting in the lower thoracic part of the vertebral column. So that's the lumbar enlargement. Now at the inferior end of the lumbar enlargement, we actually get to the end of the spinal cord. This is between L1 and L2, but it's the end of the spinal cord. That's the Conus Medullaris. So that cone-shaped bit at the end is the Conus Medullaris, just this last little bit here of the spinal cord itself. Now then, these are all spinal nerves that we can see here, and they're the ones that are going to come out in the lumbar region and sacral and coccygeal regions of the vertebral column. But these spinal nerves look a little bit like a horse's tail, and so that's what someone thought when they first saw it, and they decided to name this the Cauda equina, which means horse's tail. So we had Conus medullaris here, and then Cauda equina here.